So we begin today with the words of Allen Ginsberg, the American beat poet. Everything is holy. Everywhere is holy. Everyone is holy. And so we can safely assume that includes us, especially us here together, the way we come together. And from the Buddha, we hear this. You can search throughout the entire universe for someone who's more deserving of your love and affection than you are yourself. And that person is not to be found anywhere. You yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserve your entire love and affection. So we're gathering here today in a world where everything is a mess, pretty serious, and yet with a faith somehow that all is well. And part of what informs this is that on this path we understand we're not what happened to us. We are what we choose to become. Much of my life, I was afraid to see myself, not as I am, but as I fear I am. Who I am, who you are, is something vastly more than our thoughts and emotions about ourselves. And this is really good news. Because many of our thoughts and emotions about ourselves are conflicted, repetitive, closed-ended. Many of us have an image of ourselves, but we don't get the picture of who we really are. Spiritual beings in temporary human disguise, on a temporary human journey. We're a checkerboard of light and dark squares, each one of us. And the deepest personal and spiritual work is to tolerate ourselves as we are. Accept ourselves as we are. And love ourselves as we become. Our job is to remember who we are, Hafiz tells us. And in the day-to-day grind, it's easy to forget. So we're here to allow the space between where we are and where we want to be to inspire us, not to terrify us. As Carl Rogers, the eminent psychologist, tells us, the curious paradox is that when I accept myself just as I am, then I can change. One of the beautiful things about being here together is it helps us wake up when we see faces on the screen that we recognize, to awaken from our profound illusion of separateness. So we're going to enter some stillness in a moment. And it's good for me to remind myself and share with you that being still really brings up that thinking and consciousness are not the same thing. Thinking is only a small part of consciousness. Thinking cannot exist without consciousness, but consciousness does not need thinking. So as we enter the stillness together, you can see how the mind is terrified of just being a small part of something and there being so much that it can't control. So as we set it to the side here, just to feel some compassion towards that busy part of ourself. What we're going to do is see how deep the place is within us from which our life is flowing. Adyashanti tells us that faith is the capacity to trust in a type of silence and inner solitude. That's faith. Not faith in a doctrine or what someone says, but faith in our own inner solitude. So we're invited not to make this a struggle, being still. We're not trying to master anything. Mastery is an ego game, a reality. Just simply relax into who you are, where you are, as it is. Nothing more, nothing less. Whatever shows up, love that. Stillness is already in you, in me, waiting and wanting to be discovered. So soften the eyes. Go gently inside. As we say, going inside begins with a direction and enters a dimension already here. Always has been here. Always will be here. Just let the breath breathe you. Without technique. Without any thought about how. The breath already breathing you in your first moment of life and will until the last without your giving it a single thought. We have an idea of ourselves, who we are, that we carry around with us and can't seem to put down. Do it here. Put your ear down close to your soul and just listen. Inside you, just below the surface of consciousness, is the wise voice of your soul. The quieter you become, the more you can hear. Grace is here now, knocking on your door. Peace is here, right now. Accept the invitation of your own heart now. No matter what is going on around you. Allow yourself to soak in the peace of your inner being. Feel the breath coming in, bringing life into every particle of your being. Feel the breath bringing all your emotions to the heart. Let your breath bring all your thoughts down into the heart, the center of compassionate presence. Let everything in the past go. Feel everything in the past moving through you down into the earth. Let the future go. Feel any thoughts about the future just moving up through your crown, up into the sky. Give this your heart's consent. Just be willing to stay open. Just be willing to be here. Just be willing to let in. Now is where love breathes. Take a few moments and let all of this fill you, empty you, hold you, encourage you, relieve you, Taking all the time in the world, in your own way, in your own time. Let the eyes softly open. Coming back to our circle, and yet leaving a part of you still here in this beautiful place. Faces on the screen, real people just like you and me. What a blessed sight. And so we'll do our go-rounds now, and as many of you know, you say your name and where you are on the planet so we can visualize you on the globe, and just something about what you're noticing right now in you right now. Anybody can begin.
Hi. Good morning, everyone. Good to be with you. And Brian, feels so happy to see you today. Pam Chubbuck. And I thought maybe apropos that I say something first because I am at the most eastern point of the United States right now. And so that's where the sun rises first, and it's called Down East Maine. So greetings from Maine. It's lovely. I'm looking at the water out there, and I feel good. I feel good. Thank you.
Welcome, Pam. I'm always glad to see you here.
Hi there, this is Silvio speaking from South Florida. And I feel good, I feel well too. I feel a little, I don't know, unquiet, unsettled. I'm not sure exactly what the reason is, but just wanted to acknowledge and share. So wasn't really able to quiet my mind during this exercise that I love doing every month with you, but I think that's okay, right? That's where you want to go. So that's it. But I'm doing well.
Let it go. Thank you, Silvio. Glad you're here.
Well, good morning. I'm Chris, and I'm in Charlottesville, Virginia, and it's a beautiful day here. And I'm feeling particularly peaceful this morning. I've had a particularly peaceful couple of days. I had a shamanic session Friday morning that really centered me, and I've been with it, so I feel really here. Thank you, Brian, for that beautiful meditation. I'm really glad to be here and see all your faces.
Thank you, Chris. And the good news is peacefulness is highly contagious. So thank you for bringing it.
Hi, I'm Iracema. I'm in Belo Horizonte, Brazil. It's winter here, but it's very hot. The sun is shining. Oh, it's terrible. And with the meditation, I felt black, as if I was nothing. And then I felt a light. I felt my heart, blood flowing through my veins. I don't know this word. My brain, and all that links me with the world. And this week I've been dealing with death and life. And what a blessing is to be alive, because in the moment I can't be here anymore. Thank you very much, Brian. And thank you. Good to see all of you.
Thank you for that gift you're bringing us, Emma.
This is Bill Prindle. I'm also in the Charlottesville area, like Chris. I'm checking in with what's the welcome calm. Last night at a restaurant, I was mistakenly served a really tasty espresso that I had asked to be decaffeinated and was not. So I spent the night with this kind of energy, and this morning I did some gardening and I feel just more grounded, calmer, more present. And in my journaling, I came to see that caffeine mistake as a reminder, among others I've been getting, to reduce the use of stimulants in my daily cycle. So universe sends us messages in so many ways, but it really feels good to be back in this circle. It's been a few months. As usual, I kind of feel this quiet buzz from within the center that just feels connected. So good to be among you.
Thank you, Bill. Glad you're here.
Hi, this is Sheila. I'm in Northern Virginia. And what I'm mainly aware of right now is how really fat I feel. Hopefully that's not contagious. But I bought this shirt about maybe 15 years ago, and it's always been too big for me to wear. And I tried it on today and it fits. That is not good news. I've asked myself many times, why do I still have it hanging in the closet? I guess this is why. But rather than condemn myself for having had too many pig out sessions in the past few months, I'm trying to look at the deeper reason, which is I've had a lot of desperate moments in the last few months. And I don't seem to be able to cope with it oftentimes, other than by sticking something in my mouth. So that's where I am.
Welcome, Sheila. Just as you are.
Thank you.
I can go. Thank you, Brian, for that meditation. Oh, and I'm Esther from Massachusetts, North Shore, Massachusetts. And yeah, during the meditation, I just am in touch with my ego, self-consciousness, and then letting it go. Then, then when it was to let go of the past, that's exactly what I do in my meditations now, is letting go of the past and realizing we are all one. So it's a process for me. And so I appreciated that. And also, like, not to think of the future. My father passed away June 18th. And so I dealing with a lot of grief too. He was 103 and working with siblings, which is a blessing. So I have there are 4 of us out of 6 remaining. So thank you.
Welcome, Esther. We hold you here, all that you're navigating.
Hi, Brian. I'll go. Jim Walker from Red Lake, Ontario. Yeah. Also holding a lot of grief still. And yeah, the meditation was exactly what the doctor ordered. Thank you, Brian.
Glad you're here, Jim.
Hi, everyone. So good to be here today. I thank you, Brian, for such a beautiful meditation. It really held me. I felt like the whole group was holding, and in a way, I think what resonated with me also before the meditation, when you said having faith in that solitude, and that even though it seems like to the ego, it seems like it's a empty space, space between the future and the past. It's just having faith that that's where the presence is. That's where the love that we're searching for is. It really resonated with me, and kind of brought me to a point that, and I've asked that question to myself: do I want people to feel sorry for me, or do I want to actually be in a work and transcend it, transcend that state, kind of ascend through it? And it seems like that's what truly needs to be done, and it's great to have a compassionate group of people to be meeting with that doing the same work, and I just really appreciate you all.
Thank you, Skylar. We appreciate you. Not just saying that.
Hi, Frank, Richmond, Virginia. Yeah, maybe to continue on Skylar's theme there, it's nice to feel connected to Sunday morning. And it kind of reminds me of how much I am attached to my separateness on a daily basis. So it feels really great to have this group of people to connect with. Thank you, Brian, for that meditation too. That was really nice.
Glad to have you, Frank.
I'll go. I'm Dan. I'm also in Richmond, Virginia. I always feel a certain amount of resistance when it comes time to just go quiet. I think it's because I have a certain level of uptightness, anxiety. It's kind of my constant companion. but it is very nice to get at least to a space where I can just be with it. And I like the reference that someone made to, because that's where the love is. It really is where the love is.
Mhm.
Thanks for great meditation, Brian. And I also want to say I'm just so happy that these meditations are being recorded and are available whenever you need it. So thank you for that too, Brian.
You're welcome, Dan. And it's Rumi who says, now is where love breathes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And thank you, Dan, for being the voice of all of our resistance, right? It's part of that humanity package. And one of the things I loved about the path work when I first came is how resistance was welcomed. I could come out of the closet with it, right? I see Pam smiling. She knows. Yeah.
Hello, my name is Andrea. I'm in the suburbs of Buenos Aires, Argentina, and it's my first time here. And I thought it was like a sign because I'm still in my pajamas. I haven't combed. I woke up late and I was in bed for 2 hours awake, talking to God and trying to meditate. And when I got up, I just looked at my emails and this one popped up, the very last one. So I said, I'll go right in. So thank you. It's a beautiful way to begin my Sunday. And I felt the warmth and the quietness inside. I didn't want to go out. Very lovely meditation. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Welcome, Andrea. You fit in beautifully here. Still a few of us left to speak. Just let us enjoy hearing the sound of your voice, drink you in.
Hi, my name is Sandy, and I'm in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and that was a lovely meditation. It was kind of touch and go for me, and I'm glad that it's being recorded also, so that I can go back and try to really be there with it.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I could echo several of the people here who have spoken, and I'm pretty much here this morning because of you guys, basically. And thank you for being here and for being here with your hearts. Thanks.
Thank you, Sandy. You're a part of us.
Hey, my name is Asha. I'm from Poland. I'm very happy that I can be with you today. Thank you.
Glad you're here. And would you say your name one more time for me, please, so I can hear it how you say it?
What say?
how you pronounce your name. I want to make sure.
Asha. Asha.
Okay, Asha. Welcome, Asha. And Karen, did you want to say something? And also, Pam, you have somebody there too we'd like to welcome in.
I'd love to say something. Go ahead.
Who's on what?
You.
Am I on? Okay.
You're on.
Oh, I'm on. All right. It's a special feeling to be on with you guys. Being Pam's partner and experiencing her and her connection to you folks. I'm grateful to be here and eager or looking forward to getting to know everyone here and who are for me, I always ask myself, where is your heart? Is it with you now? And so I've managed to take hold of that and bring it here today, and to listen and to learn, and if it feels appropriate, then to offer something from myself as well. So I'm grateful for being a part of this today.
Glad to have you.
I don't think he said his name, so
I didn't.
I don't think so.
I didn't say Rodney. It's my name.
Yeah. Thank you. Glad you're here. And Karen?
Karen, I'm from Shenandoah, Virginia. I do apologize for not being on camera today, but I didn't want that to hold me back from being present with all of you. Really grateful to be here. I noticed you brought up solitude and the past and the present. And although I didn't think it was a blessing, I lost a lot of people and was actually left in solitude, so to speak. But I think the most beautiful thing that has occurred is I started to realize I wasn't present because I was in the past or in the future in my head. And I'm really grateful and blessed to be with all of you. And that is the reason I'm here today. But I found, I think I'm really finding my true self. And it's really a beautiful thing. I hear within, don't get sucked back in. So I just find interesting things coming to me. And it's not from my mind. It's kind of beyond what comes through. So I'm grateful to be here with all of you. Thank you so much. And thank you so much, Brian. I love you all.
I feel that love, Karen. Thank you. So everybody's gone. That means it's my turn. And I've had that little edge of the diving board feeling in the pit of my stomach. My name is Brian. I live in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. And I just feel some awe at how we come together here. It's an energy form I can feel in the silence during the go-round in between people are speaking. It just feels really rich and present, and I'm really grateful for each of you for being here. And I'm going to share some words here, and I always have this feeling that words are inadequate, but like that song goes, it's only words, and words are all I have. So We'll make the best of it. And really what's inside my words, as you hear me say often, is my joy at this work and how it brings me life in a new way, endlessly, endlessly. So we often hear in the path work this phrase, you create your own reality. Well, I noticed that rather than being encouraging, for me, that can be frightening and demoralizing. Not only am I suffering, I'm creating my suffering. I feel bad, and now I feel bad for feeling bad. So what is the truth in that phrase? And remember, what we've said here often is the truth is kind. The truth is gentle. The truth is respectful of the struggle of the human being. So here's how that creating reality thing works, in my view. We think, understandably, that in everyday life, the things we see, the things we hear, influence what we feel. But it's mostly the other way around. That what we feel alters what we see and hear. You see? So the reality we're creating is not the car that almost ran us over at the stop sign. The reality that we're creating is any conclusions we draw about life from that experience, right? Where we feel like a victim, we're angry at how other people don't pay attention, how we believe life isn't safe, right? Yet, what blocks our awareness of what we actually feel underneath the stories we tell ourselves about what we feel are imagined fear and doubt, and learned unworthiness, that peculiarity of our human nature. We terrorize ourselves with our feeling of unworthiness. Yet, as we learn on this path, the only way to go deeper than these imposing obstacles is to go into them and feel them. And I know we've all heard this over and over again in the path work. Yet remember, it's not a straight line. It's a spiral. And we do Pathwork 101 over and over again to go deeper through the illusion of our fear or doubt, our unworthiness, the conclusions we've drawn about life. And only then do we realize how superficial they are, even though they've bullied us all our lives. We see them for what they are, phantoms, ghosts. So, all of us, as human beings, we're afraid to look inside because of what we might see or what we won't see. And when we only see our pain, our fear, from the view of the one feeling the pain, we'll keep suffering until we can see the pain with an openness to the teaching for us inside it. This is really the great secret of the spiritual path, right? Is that many of our lessons come in the situations, the experiences, the emotions we'd rather not feel. So we change the story by opening our hearts to the storyteller inside of us and really listening to what the voices are saying, rather than scolding them or shaming them or lecturing them how they should be different. And there's a risk as path workers that, the tools that we have of the guide, but the understanding of our images and our real unmet needs and all these beautiful, rich ways of looking at the human experience, we can end up path working ourselves to death, right? And what's missing is the kindness and the understanding for these very parts of us that have been going through many of these vicious circles over and over again all our life. The most common response to fear, it's almost reflexive, is to turn away from it. And yet, as you know, when we do, it follows us everywhere. One of the things that has come to me is that when I look at my fears, it's not even what the fear is about. I've come to see that just being a human being is the most vulnerable experience in the universe. We have fear just being a human being, and this free-floating fear that comes from the complexity of being a spiritual being that came from a vast sea of oneness and connectedness into this world of duality is pretty frightening. So I'm going to invite each one of us to be willing to let each one of us have our own unique experience of fear, right? We all have a one-of-a-kind constellation of fear. And just gently let the eyes soften. And consider this, that all we have to do with our fear, no matter what it is, no matter how strong it is get on the awareness elevator and push the willingness button. Yes, it does go down before it comes up. So with the power of active visualization, visualize yourself stepping into the awareness elevator. Look at that willingness button with the big W. Just notice all your feelings about being here. And just for now, notice yourself pushing the W. Feel the elevator doors close and feel it going down. Down, down, down. Notice all the ways you already are bracing yourself. Notice any way, any place tightness creeps into the body. Fight or flight. The elevator stops. And the doors open. And your heart stops too, until you notice a guardian angel on either side of the door. You see a scene of some great personal fear, yet also feel the protection as the angels each raise a hand towards you. They say, just stay where you are and look. That's enough. You feel yourself relax just a little, breathing more easily. The angels smile at you as the doors close, and you go back up. That wasn't so bad, you tell yourself, and so you do it again. Each time it's a little easier. You know now the angels will be there. Whatever the old terror. The elevator stops where you got on it. The doors open. You let your eyes open and see those of us here with you on our own ride into fear and back. So I want to say a few things about fear. And fearlessness is a word that we hear. And yet it's a confusing word because just the word itself, fearless, means we have to somehow not have the fear. And yet, as we learn over and over, all we need to do is face the fear and feel it. And then have the experience. The fear is smaller than we imagined. The fear of the fear is greater than the fear we dreaded. Our fear is a ventriloquist. It projects its voice onto everything it can in our head and in our belly. And the antidote is to come into the heart, the center of compassionate presence. Each one of us has our own unique, imposing set of fears. And what we're learning to do is seeing through them like a window instead of a wall. Many of us early in life were told, don't be afraid. What are you afraid of? So early on, we experienced our fear as personal failure. And this pattern is deeply impressed in our being and our soul substance. And what we're doing now is seeing it as part of our spiritual journey in human form. The fear actually becomes a stepping stone to liberation. The greater the fear, the greater the liberation. Our fear is the very place to drop into with our utmost conscious awareness, with the help of grace. So as you've been hearing these words and feeling your own set of fears, let's have a process of inspiraling together in our beautiful way of just witnessing each other and our own longing, really, to be free. And, you know, the freedom is not from the fears because they're part of the humanity package. It's the freedom with the fear, right? We're not trying to get rid of the fear. We're just wanting to really say it's just a part of the landscape. It doesn't really mean what it tries to terrify us that it means, right? And one more thing, when I was sitting with all of this, you know, as human beings, there's a couple of fundamental set of fears. One of them is like two sides of a coin. We're afraid of being abandoned. Some of us can relate to that, right? We're afraid of being invaded, right? Controlled, right? And because it's two sides of one coin, we often swing like a pendulum between the two. So what we're considering today is my fears don't really mean anything about who I am as a human being. That's just what they're trying to convince me, that somehow it means I'm less than or defective or neurotic or not courageous enough, right? Just naming your fear in the circle here softens it, right?
My fear is that I won't be able to take care of myself. The older I get, that's the more I fear.
Mm.
And I'm very curious what that fear looks like in the spirit world before I come here to experience it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, is it a fear that it's connected, I believe, to my attachment to separateness and separation, you know,
Mm-hmm.
some way that I can't really completely define.
Yeah. Well, you see, this is a very helpful example of how the fear creates a situation that we can't escape from using what the fear is telling us. Right? The fear is very convincing. So, you know, the attachment to separation that many of us have some version of, right, Frank? You were speaking to that, right? It's like, you're saying, I want to be alone, right? Leave me alone.
Quite often.
And the fear that I can't take care of myself, well, that's actually true. Because as human beings, we're beings of relatedness and connection. We need each other. Right? It's way beyond just who's going to feed me and change me and help me get out of bed, right? Bring me my medicine. It's like, so, you know, here to consider that there's also fear of the fear of the separation, right? Like, I need people, and yet I'm also wanting to be separate from them, right? That impossible paradox that our fear creates. It's really worth looking for this in your own set of fears, right? One foot on the gas and one foot on the brake. And then we complain because we're not moving, right?
Yeah, Ryan, I found the elevator image helpful. And when the doors opened, what I saw was a wheelchair. And I think it connects to what Frank was saying. I'm just afraid of being incapacitated. You know, I spent the morning like lifting 30, 40-pound bags of mulch and gardening with it. And chances are I'm not going to be able to do that forever. And, you know, so that just leads me down the spiral of, well, what else? What other capacities am I going to lose? And how will I manage? And will I still feel like being alive at a certain point, right? So, yeah. Oh, helpful, another bleeping helpful meditation. Thanks.
One thing comes to me is I can relate to all of that as well. But one thing occurred to me as I was sitting in my own fear is that these things haven't happened yet because I'm here right now and I'm not incapacitated. And it did come to me that I'm wasting this moment of being by projecting forward. And I realized I wasn't fully alive because of that. And I don't know, somehow it brought me right back to the present moment and a more awakeness. So I remind myself when these fears come up is that this too shall pass and that I'm here present now and all is well. So thanks.
Yeah, and echoing that, what really helped was, you know, I came back to the present and like, what are you doing right now? You're sitting in a chair. So what would keep me from doing this right here if I had to be in a wheelchair? I mean, it's like, all right, it was really helpful. Just come back to the present and live from there.
So far, so good.
Yeah, right.
I'd like to piggyback this, what Frank and Bill Karen talking about. Yeah, fear of aging and feeling physically vulnerable as I have gone through this hip replacement surgery that really has brought that to the forefront. And even though I'm sitting here and I'm doing quite well, I'm not. It's body isn't quite what it used to be. And I think and I'm facing a lot of uncertainty in my life. So being, aging and then uncertainty as far as what my future will look like is scary. And I think it's really helpful to, well, be with you all and to be in this, naming it in this way and to breathe and sort of be with the energy of fear, almost like letting it sort of drop into my feet is sort of like not trying to sort of embracing it in a way, in a sense, takes the air out of it, is what I'm saying.
Thank you,
And
Chris.
yeah, I'm in fear. Yeah.
I'd like to share. Wow, so much. I love the image of the elevator of awareness. For me, it's my fear is some aspect or some idea or part of not belonging or disconnection. Because when the elevator doors open up, it's just pure blackness. There's nothing out there. And it occurs to me lately that just the conscious act of being aware is love. I see myself getting really caught up in my head, my ideas, my fears, this, that, the other. But when I'm asked, as Brian asked me today, to be aware, that's this other really unexplored part of me. And it's this, from what I can gather as I experience it, it's this expansiveness, it's this sense of great possibility, and it seems to be much, much larger than whatever it is I'm afraid of or whatever I'm thinking of. And I just think this whole idea of not belonging, this whole fixation on my disconnection, can really take my attention away from this greater capacity I have to be aware. And if it's true that being aware is an act of love, I definitely have my mind pointed in where it's least helpful to be. I understand I have to experience and really relate to my fear, but where is it that I'm relating from? That's my awareness. And I'm seeing that it is just made of pure love. I have an intellectual kind of understanding of this right now, but I have these moments. It's like, oh. And I think it speaks to what you're saying, Brian, is that, we have to go into our fear.
Yeah.
But the more of the sense of awareness that I have around it, the more I'm able to put it into perspective.
And Dan, what is coming to me is just those moments of awareness can inspire us for years. Thank you. Time, Skylar, please.
for me, it was a definitely, yeah, great analogy with the elevator. I felt that sort of holding on to the walls of the elevator, and to the point that I just didn't want to go with it. And I had to just let that elevator go while holding onto those walls, and then finally had to like fall off back on the floor of the elevator. And then when the door opened, it just felt like, yeah, just felt like being on a hitting a rock button in a way, like being down on the deep floor of the ocean where there's really no light at all. It's just very dark. Like no windows, nothing at all. And yeah, those are sort of scary. It's scary of the fear of loneliness, that I will not have anyone to be able to see me for, I guess, who I am. And those gardening angels, I saw them as well, and it did made me feel relieved in a way. But there is some understanding that came with it. It's like the more I'm able to go and jump into this elevator every time I face that fear, it's like the more I learn to swim on those deep bottom of the ocean, and the easier it gets each time. And when the time comes up and I come up to the surface, I'll be able to sort of, be more appreciative, be more understanding, and be able to see more people when they're in there deep. And just show that compassion to myself, bring that compassion to others. And it's just so many beautiful places aboard from it. Just being down there, doing the work. That's all that matters, I think. Yeah.
Thank you, Skylar. So the elevator is really our higher self. And all we have to do is step into it and press the willingness button. And it just brings us to where we need to be, lets us know we're safe, we're protected, and not a moment longer than necessary. It brings us back up, back into everyday consciousness, right? And just to be willing is all we need to do. There are vaster forces at work here on each of our behalf. We're so used to doing everything in life alone that it's easy to forget. All of heaven and earth is here with each one of us, And all the grace that's necessary and more is already here. Yet the great spiritual law is we're called to be willing so the grace can come in. If we wait until we think we can handle the fear, to face the fear, it will be someday over the rainbow. Right? When we really let in the spiritual reality that all we have to do is be willing, and we will be led and guided and held. It's really life-changing. Right? So there's room and time for others to speak up, but I do want to say that, what I've heard Chris and Frank and Bill express, I feel myself. My age with a serious cancer, yet after much riding on the elevator over and over again, I think I wore out the W on the button, but I know which button it is. I'm not really afraid of dying. That's not what I'm afraid of. I'm afraid that I don't control life, right? And that's really the fundamental fear. And, our fear of death, our fear of incapacitation, I mean, that's totally understandable at that level. Who could argue with that? Yet on the spiritual level, these are the burning ways life is asking us to look at. We don't control. Whatever it is that's going to teach us that there's a terrible beauty to it. Yet there's also safety. Because once we see that and see where that human impulse to control is hooked in us and let that go, that's where the freedom comes in. Right? The great liberation. And, I'm very carrying around Esther losing her father, and Jim, you losing a friend you love very deeply, suddenly and unexpectedly. Sometimes these lessons can be brutal. So see who else has something to share, and maybe especially if there's something you don't want to share. It's a great place to leave it right here, not take it back with you.
The place I went to down in the elevator was, I didn't actually see anything particular, but it was like people are cruel to each other. So I tried to, so I go back up the elevator, and yeah, I during the meditation, I didn't necessarily, but during the time of other people talking, I'm paying attention, but I'm also like reviewing. And I could see, especially when you said my fear would create itself. And my experience in childhood was I was quite cruel to myself. And so that I'm working on that, but so that's kind of like, and then I had the experience yesterday where I was down at a beach, and I had put my skirt and a shirt, and before I went swimming, on a chair, and I look over and a girl's leaning on my clothing and they're crowding around the table, and I'm like, okay, I'm afraid of, I didn't quite know what it was, because it's fear mixed with anger. And so that was what I was trying to look at, to get a more observational point of view, to see, okay, when it's not necessarily this situation that I need to be concerned with at the moment, to walk with it And so I can see now how you know, it's my fear can just be created from what the universe will show me that. Actually, I'm not even quite sure of where I'm going with this, but I guess it's the willingness to be able to believe, you know, like, no, like we sit here, no, there's no cruelty, you know, coming out sideways here. And everybody's looking at their own stuff. It's safe and we're all one at this point. And then how do you carry that out into the world that we are all one? And with my father's passing, the way he handled his death was at one point he said, I was sitting across the table from him in the kitchen, and he said he didn't want to be getting some care that he might, some people thought he should have. And he faced this a lot in his final days, that other people thought he should have things and he didn't think he did. And so he said, just play the game. I don't know where he got that from. So I don't know if that's helpful to anybody, but it's like, just play the game and focus there, maybe. I don't know. And then he kind of passed on his own terms. He passed away standing up. He was standing up and felt dizzy. And then he sat down and collapsed. And so now I'm planning my own funerals. I don't know. I feel dragged there with my sister already passed, who I was very close to, my brother, my mother, and my dad. So I feel like a part of me. And so I'm just going with the flow of my own cemetery plot. I called the funeral home. Not that I think anything's going to happen right away, but it's kind of healing for me to feel part of that. And so, yeah, I really don't have the fear of death, but I probably do, but I don't. I have more fear of, I think, how we treat each other.
Yeah, a major life event you're navigating, Esther.
Yeah.
And Jim, I wanted to make some space for you without putting you on the spot. You know, those of us that were here with you last time, you know, you lost in a terrible accident somebody you're so close to, like a daughter you love very much. And, you know, just wanting you to know, like, we really are here with you. Anything you say is welcome. This is a place you can just really let it all hang out for a few moments, right? Like,
what comes to mind is, you know, the funeral and how my daughter just stepped up and, you know, was really the rock for Marilyn's family, and how proud I am of how she just handled it. And yeah, it was just amazing to see, you know, because she was in such grief, and yeah, it was, for me as a father, it was a beautiful sight to see, and also very painful because of the pain that she's in, you know. So yeah, that's what comes to mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's a roller coaster.
Yeah.
For all of us.
I'm just aware that you're holding yourself together for your family, you know, and that here there's nothing you need to do to hold yourself together. That we can hold you.
I appreciate that. I do. And, you know, it's meetings like this and the people here that I can share this with is, yeah, it's beautiful medicine.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
So we're getting ready to come in for a landing. Is there anybody who hasn't shared that'd like to say something?
I want to say something kind of fast here.
Yes, Sheila.
That for me, fear and guilt are always connected.
Mm-hmm.
Seems like if I'm afraid, I immediately feel guilty, and I think that my feeling is that if I had done everything right, there would be nothing to be afraid of.
Mm-hmm.
But because I haven't done everything right,
yeah,
that I've created situations that could be quite scary.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's I think the guilt is in some ways worse than the fear.
Well, just consider this, all of us, that we feel guilty about our fear because our idealized self-image tells us we shouldn't be afraid. And what we're learning to do is to be kind and understanding and compassionate towards the fear, to soften it so we can get the lesson that's inside of the fear, that as long as we're resisting the fear or judging it or feeling guilty about it, we're just carrying it around, right? Day after day.
I think it's really kind of a power, for me, kind of a power mask and kind of a perfectionism. It says that it would be actually possible to live your life so perfectly that you would have nothing to be afraid of.
Yeah.
And that's not really a reasonable expectation to have of yourself.
Yeah.
You know, no matter what we do, many of us, you know, all of us will eventually be helpless.
Yeah.
I mean, even if it's only for the last 30 seconds before you die, you know, it could be the last 30 days before you die or the last 30 weeks. Yeah. But there's going to be that helplessness that I don't think anything we do is going to be able to prevent that.
So whatever each of our fear is, what we've been holding today, is the release of the fear comes by letting go of our judgment around having the fear, that it means we're defective in some way, and just seeing it as a part of our humble humanity and turning to it with kindness and support to seek understanding. So in our closing, let's let the eyes soften again. And just take a moment of being still and quiet. And deep down, there's a quiet voice you recognize. And you hear it saying, "It's okay to be afraid. I understand. I'm here with you. I'm here with you." And letting the eyes open and taking yourself off mute and letting the hands come up to fellow travelers here on the screen. I'm here with you.
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 I'm here with you. I'm here with you and you and you and you.
I'm here with you.
I'm here with you.
I'm here with you.
I'm here with me, and I'm here with you. And
With you.
Yes.
you're beautiful, and I love you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank
for
you, Brian.
creating our
Thank you.
beautiful
Thank you,
magic
Brian.
carpet together.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Brian. Love you.
Thank you so much.